All right, everyone, it's time for what seems to be a fairly complex issue, which is arms sales, Trump, Saudi Arabia, the death of, I've got it written here, Jamal Khashoggi, I think his name is, journalist, Saudi dissident, basically doesn't like the House of Saud and looks into corruption within the Saudi government. He's probably dead. He was probably assassinated by the Saudi government. The Turks did release footage at the embassy there at the consulate of him entering the Saudi consulate and not leaving. And then some other vehicles leave out the back mysteriously several hours later. Now, his wife was there, waited for him for hours. He never showed up. And the thinking is he was killed for being a dissident. He's been buried in a shallow grave somewhere. That's probably true. Now, here's the thing. Number one, on arms sales. Rescinding the arms sales based on this particular event would be wrong unless there's further evidence. But, big caveat here, big but. I would say arms sales to Saudi Arabia shouldn't have been happening in the first place. I don't believe in punishing a nation until you have evidence some wrongdoing has been done. Even if you suspect it strongly, even if there's pretty good reason to believe, you need something more tangible. What I would encourage is the Turkish government should authorize troops to enter the consulate. Let the Saudis moan about it. Let the Saudi government protest or send a strongly worded letter. What are they going to do? They can't beat your military. They're not going to invade you. They're not going to be able to shut you out at the UN or something. There's no repercussion involved if you storm their consulate and look for evidence of a murder. You'll find, use black lights. You can find if there's blood splatter. Test it for DNA. You'll probably find this missing journalist's DNA. You might even find his body in there. It might not have been removed. You might find pictures, search through the computers and stuff. Who's going to say no? The U.S. isn't going to get involved. Europe, the Europeans going to get involved? Are they going to condemn Turkey for saying, hey, a journalist was probably killed here. It might be your consulate, but we're fucking tired of this shit. We're not going to deal with it. And think, Turkey is sitting there all worried about it. What's about the track record of journalistic rights in Turkey? When the Turkish government is concerned about this issue, you know that there's a problem. By the way, to the self-righteous liberals, who are complaining, oh, the Saudis killed a journalist, Trump isn't doing enough. You believe in depersoning and abusing and in some cases physically intimidating journalists. You do it all the time. You do it to the alt media. You allow corporations to defame us and you don't say a word to defend the alt media because you think that our political views are wrong. Or with Tommy Robinson, Antifa throws shit at him or tries to punch him out, you cheer. So don't give me that crap about loving journalistic rights and people should be a free press. You don't believe in a free press. No, you believe in a state-run muzzled press. You believe that like Feinstein does, that bloggers should have to fucking get a license in order to blog and shit like that. But here's the thing. The Turks are probably right. The Saudi government probably green-lighted an assassination of a journalist who happened to be too much of a dissident. That probably happened. But we need more evidence. If you're going to punish them for that specific thing, you need more evidence than just a claim and a bit of footage saying, hey, we didn't see him leave the consulate. What if he left out the other side of it? It's possible physically for that to have happened. It probably didn't. There's a 99% chance he's been assassinated by the Saudi government. Get more evidence then. Storm the consulate. See what you find. Storm the consul's house. Those vehicles were headed for the consul's house. Maybe you'll find some evidence there. Go ahead. Go ahead. You've got carte blanche right now. The Saudis are being universally condemned. The Saudi Arabians should never, though, have been getting U.S. weapons. They're a state sponsor of terrorism. It's like sometimes the U.S. gives like discounted weapons or last-gen missiles or something to a country in order to keep them on our side, but Saudi Arabia is not on the side of the U.S. Saudi Arabia is its own sphere member. It's OPEC, the oil states, the Middle East is becoming its own congealed sphere. We've got to understand that. We're going to have to choose which component of that sphere we're willing to work with. Does it really need to be the oil-rich country when there's plenty of oil here now? We don't have to work with the Saudis anymore on that. By the way, I have no problem with U.S. arms sales. Deviating somewhat from some people, even libertarians. I don't have a problem with selling weapons to other countries. If we don't do it, someone else will. I believe in the individual right to bear arms. I don't even think it should be illegal for U.S. citizens to have crates of hand grenades or fucking machine guns. Like, you used to be able to get a Tommy gun mail order. You do realize that, right? Some of them are even still operative. You used to literally be able to buy a submachine gun in the fucking mail. Now, of course, they have all sorts of problems. So if I don't have a problem with that, I don't have a problem with the U.S. government making tanks or weapons or whatever and selling it to other regimes, especially if it's last gen. Like you're phasing out a plane, you're phasing out a style of weapon or tank or some form of body armor. Go ahead and sell it. You know, you can make a return on the amount that you spent to actually build it in the first place, and it shouldn't just go to waste. Even better, sell it to U.S. citizens. I would love to buy more. I know some U.S. surplus they do sell to citizens. They can get Jeeps and fucking Humvees and all sorts of cool shit. By the way, supposedly the Humvee, literally the most overrated piece of military equipment and the most unloved of all time. It gets terrible gas mileage, shakes like a leaf whenever it moves, not actually that survivable in certain situations, especially prone to IUDs, and generally unlovable, with the civilian version being somewhat better on everything but gas mileage. Anyway, though, what I would say is this. The Saudis are probably did this. But you can't punish them for an infraction until you've got clear-cut evidence of that infraction having happened. But we never should have been selling them weapons to begin with. Now, as to Trump's response, initially he's like, well, we're not going to do anything about it. There's no proof. People tried to jump down his throat, and I'm thinking to myself, so in other words, you expect Trump to be a total imperialist, throw his weight around, and shutter all relations with a foreign state. If he were to actually have done that, you would come out on the other side and bitch and moan about him being too much of a tyrant. You'd say, oh my God, see, he's alienating us from an ally. And you know that the left would say this, because they have no problem with Saudi Arabia at other times. They have no problem with it. They don't care. They don't care about what's happening in Yemen. When Obama was conducting strikes on those same groups, they cheered. They had no problem with it. They're totally ambivalent. What about Pakistan? You were complaining about Trump shutting out aid for Pakistan. Pakistan is the biggest ally the Saudis have. So you have a problem with that. On the same token, literally, hey, militants are spawning in Pakistan. The Pakistani government's so corrupt and stupid it's not doing anything about it. That makes him a tyrant. But if he refuses to immediately shut out another state for one assassination, one instance of a possible crime we don't even have evidence of, all of a sudden he's being inept. I don't get the double think here is ridiculous. There's no logic to it whatsoever. I'll say this, therefore. I don't support the Saudi government. They sponsor terrorism. That's known. We should be punishing them all along for that. We shouldn't be partnered with countries that have literally... Osama bin Laden was from Saudi Arabia. He's a member... he was lesser royalty within the House of Saud. He is a Saudi nobleman and a partner to the Bush administration, no less, through literally one step of separation related to oil sales. You look at the 9/11 report. What nation's involvement was written about there, and we didn't know until the Trump administration. Oh, the Saudi Arabians. I wonder why. Because the Bush administration was run by cowards who didn't want to confront an ally, especially one that benefits their family to the tune of hundreds of millions of dollars, because then that ally might turn out to be an enemy and disclose publicly the stupid shit that you were doing with the Saudi Arabians. That's literally, I think Bush suppressed that part of the 9/11 report because he didn't want people looking in too closely to the relationship between Herbert Walker, especially, and the House of Saud, especially the component related to Osama bin Laden. Honestly, I think that there's a connection there fiscally, and I think he said, hey, it's not politically expedient for this issue to be brought up right now. I'm not saying like conspiracy theory. I'm saying there's a fiscal connection. It would have become more publicly known. It would have been like normie land would have known about it instead of just people who are interested in political history or conspiracy theorists in some cases. He didn't want people to be talking about that. He wanted people to be talking about just the event in a vacuum and his wonderful response, starting several stupid wars on credit that he never could finish. Bush so inept and corrupt he makes Obama look good. That's quite an accomplishment. Meanwhile, Trump comes along, he basically sweeps aside all the groups spawned by their joint inept policy. Within the first year of his first term, I thought it was pretty good. ISIS, where are they now? Not exactly they're not exactly forming a caliphate, if you know what I'm saying. No. Go ahead and punish it. The Turks need to get involved and conduct an investigation. If that means risking diplomatic outrage in Saudi Arabia, Saudis aren't a Turkish ally either. They're a competitor. Turkey wants to be the master of the old domains of the Ottomans. Turkey has higher ambitions. Erdogan wants to be the leader of a core within the Middle East to challenge the supremacy of the Saudis and the Iranians. He wants to be out of that tripolar situation in which Turkey and Saudi Arabia are both sort of joint partners of Egypt. They sit it out a little bit. The Turks want to be the main player. They want to supplant the Saudi Arabians. they've got a more diverse economy, bigger, badder military. They're trying to straddle the line between U.S. and Russia in order to beef up even more. It's clearly a power play. This could be a power play. This could be an example. Maybe the Turkish authorities managed to grab him and kill him or something to false flag the Saudi Arabians, but I doubt it. We're trying to punish them. Trying to rescind arms sales. It's like, okay, so you for the last 10 billion years that we've been selling weapons to a state sponsor of terrorism that actually secretly hates us, you had no real problem with that. Only now is it an issue. Now we need to do something about that arms dealing. Before it was like, oh yeah, let Raytheon and all these companies give them microwave guns for all you cared. Nobody cared. Give them power armor. Fucking give them an alien blaster technology. Nobody cared. The left didn't bat an eye. Saudi Arabians butcher 10,000 Houthis. Who cares? They threatened several, like, was it Qatar, Bahrain, one of these smaller Gulf states that is at odds with them because it's a Shia regime. They're like, oh, we're literally going to carve you off from the rest of the subcontinent. Nobody cares. Dick wagging around Iran. Nobody cares. But all of a sudden, a journalist dies. Oh my God! But Trump's in charge now, so we've got to condemn his lack of response. He can't respond diplomatically. Trump can't say, okay, we're going to scrap $100 billion worth of sales of weapons, or some hundreds of millions of dollars rather. We're going to scrap all that money, that extremely lucrative trade, and potentially alienate. While the oil prices are already high, we're going to antagonize the head of OPEC. We're going to do this based on a claim without any tangible evidence. There's plenty of circumstantial evidence, but nothing tangible at the moment that a journalist might have died. All other things aside, that's a pretty dumb thing to do. We're not in a position at the moment with oil prices where they are to really do anything about the Saudis anyway. Turkey can, though. Trump should use back channels to extract what happened. That's about all. Peace out.